What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Celtics Daily with me, Mike Zakarian, as we continue to dive through Boston's NBA offseason, looking through some of the rumors and reporting that are going around. Brady Stevens and the rest of the Beantown boys of the Boston Celtics. But before we dive into today's slop, do me a favor, if it's your first time hanging out here with the Celtics Daily, hit the subscribe. Let's get the algo boosting up. Hit the notification bell. Get involved in the chat because, as you can see from our fourth block of the things that we're going to talk about today, it's your comments from previous videos. So continue to get engaged. I saw a lot of good feedback and a lot of other feedback yesterday too, but it was good to have you guys involved. Let's get started. We got big boy Nick Claxton for the Brooklyn Nets. There's been some rumors percolating that Nick Claxton, the big man of Brooklyn, could be considered in an Anthony Simons type swap. Now, Nick Claxton, probably not the sexiest guy when we think of bigs that are maybe on the market. But if you recall, when we were looking at some of the bigs that are out there into next year's free agency, it was like Isaiah Hartenstein, Mitchell Robinson, and then the drop-off was like Jusuf Nurkic. And please, I don't want anybody in the chat, unless you are Bosnian, to try to sell me on Jusuf Nurkic, okay? Because that ship has sailed. But looking at Spotrac, which is kind of what I used to do, the fake trades, Nick Claxton, straight up for Anthony Simons, would work. The Celtics would actually save $2.3 million for this season. However, Nick Claxton right now is getting $25 million this year, and then he's got 2 years, a total of $44 million left total. So you have him not just this year, but the next couple of years, as he signed a 4-year extension last year to stay with the Brooklyn Nets. And again, like, this is, if you want to talk yourself into this, here's how you have to do it, okay? I am still pro Anthony Simons. I think Anthony Simons probably a little bit of a better player than, say, Nick Claxton at this point in his career. However, the thing that I do like is that it does give us a big. And we know moving forward, the Celtics are going to have to find a bigger guy to help out this rotation because the Luka Garza, Neemias Queta, Xavier Tillmans of the world just aren't going to cut it. That is not going to be enough. Honestly, I was listening to the Hoop Collective, which, if you just like basketball podcasts, is very good. It's Brian Windhorst of ESPN, Tim Bontemps, and Tim McMahon. And they were going over all the over-unders. We're talking about the Celtics. And it was nice to hear somebody else besides my own brain be like, look at the front court of the Celtics. Like, outside of maybe the Charlotte Hornets, the Celtics might have the worst front court in the league. Charlotte Hornets are going to be starting most likely Ryan Cockbrenner, who was actually somebody I thought the Celtics were going to try to draft, or Moussa Diabate. That's it. That's their entire front court. But if you go to any other team, like, you can just bang around in the East, right? Embiid, if he's healthy. And if Embiid's not healthy, Andre Drummond's still probably a better big as their backup, right? The Knicks, we know they have Cat, they have Mitchell Robinson. Cleveland has Allen and Mobley. The Hawks have Porzingis and Onyeka Okongwu. Let's go. Detroit has Jalen Duren, the young guy, Giannis and Miles Turner on the Bucks. I mean, even Nick Claxton would be the best big in Brooklyn. I'm trying to think, who are the other Eastern Conference teams that I've yet to get? Toronto has Jakob Poeltl. Chicago has Nikola Vucevic. So, like, we clearly have the worst bigs in the league. And if you are planning on trading Simons, which, again, we don't really know what they're doing, and I can't stress enough, I'm not anti-Simons, but just thinking about how the Celtics are moving forward, this would make sense. Brooklyn takes on $30 million. It gives them another veteran play, like guard, because right now the Nets have, like Claxton we talked about, Cam Thomas and Michael Porter Jr., and then they drafted 5 first-round picks. They don't have really any sort of, veteran consistency. So I don't know. I don't know if they would be interested in doing that, but I do kind of like it because it allows, Claxton, you could still get a good feel for what you have in Queta, Garza, and Tillman. But then next year, it sets you up next year so you have a center. Because, again, we outlined the potential centers that are available. It's not the biggest names. So outside of the Celtics going out there and trading for a big, this seems to be like a pretty good option. So I am open to it. I'm interested in it. Curious what everyone else's thoughts are. I'll be curious what Brooklyn's thoughts are, too. So, anyways, Nick Claxton for Anthony Simons. You could do that straight up, too. So, the Celtics would get them under those taxes that they were worried about. It's a clean $2 million. It doesn't mean that they would be done, but it is a clean $2 million. And it also gets somebody on the books for, like, a reasonable rate for the next couple of years. Although one thing to note, like I think watching the financials of the NBA and some of these deals over the next couple of years are going to be very interesting. They were talking about the restricted free agents, right? So we did a show on them like a week ago, but like Quentin Grimes, Josh Giddey, Cam Thomas on Brooklyn, and Jonathan Kuminga all seem to feel like they are owed a little bit more money, right? They want to make like $30 million a year. If I'm being honest, that's probably too much for those guys. But the other teams, like the teams that they're currently on, are because they're restricted free agents, they're like giving them a qualifying offer that's so much lower than that. Cam Thomas, they offered basically $14 million for 2 years. Josh Giddey, they want to pay under $20 million. And so we seem to be in this weird spot, but an executive, according to Fred Katz from The Athletic, an executive in the NBA anonymously said, why would we pay, like $22 million a year for somebody like Quentin Grimes when you can get Gary Trent Jr., who's on the Milwaukee Bucks, for like a vet min? And so I wonder if more owners and more front offices are going into that direction. So you're either going to pay those guys like Tatum and Brown $50+ million a year, or you're going to pay people peanuts like the Sam Hauser deals or like, the George Niang deals, right? So I don't know. It's something to pay attention as we move forward. And the reason I went on that little rant there or tangent, because I wasn't yelling, it was a tangent. Nick Claxton seems like a good deal 2 years ago, where he's like, hey, that's decent money. He's made 20+ million a year. But maybe that is considered bad now. I don't know. I'm curious what people's thoughts are. I don't think anybody's too excited, like, oh, hell yeah, Nick Claxton, welcome to Boston, baby. I don't think any of that's happening. I do think he makes a ton of sense. Again, just like a rim-protecting, rim-running big. He can pass a little bit, defends. I don't know what other type of big we're looking for that's on the market right now, and I think he just makes sense with this team. Not for this year, right? Like this year, whatever, but for the years to come. All right, so that's it on Nick Claxton. One other name I wanted to throw out there is Malik Monk, and the reason I bring this up, I don't know how other people feel. I think Malik Monk, a good player, and it's been weird to me to see Sacramento go out of their way to just try to get rid of Malik Monk. He's been in all of these rumors. The Kings have basically publicly said that they're trying to move off of Malik Monk, and I don't think Malik Monk is somebody who is like an all-star starting guard or anything like that, but he is going to, like, perennial six-man of the year candidate. He's always in there. He honestly would have won it 2 years ago before getting hurt. Last season averaged 17 points, 4 boards, and almost 6 assists a game, shooting 43% from the field, 33% from three, which is below average, 86% from the line. Really good at getting to the line. But, I mean, if you look at his he plays 65 to 70 games a year. He was 17 points a game, 15 points a game, 14 points a game the last 3 seasons. And his contract, if we look at this, right, he's only making 18 million, and he's under contract for the next 3 years, or this year and 2 more seasons. I'm fascinated why they don't want him, and if they're just saying, we're trying to get clear of some of this money, I mean, I would throw Simons at Malik Monk. I definitely would. And if we put that into Spotrac, it's good for the Celtics. We'd have to throw one more thing in there, I think. But currently, let's say if we throw Niang in there too, let's see what this does. I thought that was going to work straight up, so that's why I'm throwing it in there. Niang, all right, I can't. We have to turn the restrictions off here. Hold on. Let's turn the restrictions off. All right, let's see if Niang works here in this scenario. I know you guys can't see this. We should do a little screen share one of these times, huh? Maybe we do a live stream, mix it up a little bit. If we try to do that, Niang and Monk. No, that still doesn't work. So we'd have to finagle it a little bit. But anyways, I'm just curious why the Kings don't want Malik Monk, where I know they're in a weird pattern right now of just getting Chicago Bulls, right? DeRozan, Zach LaVine. They got Sabonis over there still. They drafted this young guy, Nick Clifford. They still have Devin Carter, who also they're putting in trade rumors. But anyways, I like Malik Monk's game. I think is nice. I think he is, Peyton Pritchard-esque. I wish his three-point shot was a little bit more consistent, but he's fantastic at getting to the line. He's just like a shot of adrenaline off the bench, and I'm just surprised that they're trying to move off of him. And again, if the Kings are just desperate, they're like, hey, we just want to get off his salary. I don't know. I'd be open to a little Malik Monk. And that actually excites me a little bit more than Nick Claxton, even though the fit isn't it doesn't make as much sense. I think Malik Monk, I don't know. Maybe that's crazy. I think I like Malik Monk a little bit more than Anthony Simons, but maybe that's a bad take. But Curious what people's thoughts are on Malik Monk. Let's get into summer league. We did get some summer league updates here. So Jalen Bridges, Gray, and Scott. Is it Miles Scott? I should have looked that up first. But those are the three guys from summer league that have been invited to camp. Scott, we saw the three ball fall down a little bit. I want to shout out the First to the Floor podcast. Not sure if you guys listen to them. They used to be a part of the CelticsBlog.com, but they are now actually going to CLNS Media. First to the Floor, really good stuff. But our guy Wayne Spooney from First to the Floor was getting pretty excited about Jalen Bridges, like getting him to camp. So no Kenny Lofton. The Charles Bassey conversation still non-existent. Of course, the rooks are there, like Hugo, Sugar, Amari Williams, whatever. They'll be there as well. But I think the Bridges and Scott were the ones that stood out to me the most. I think Scott, his three ball, again, it looked this. I went to 2 Boston Celtics Summer League games. He was the one guy I didn't know that stood out to me. I really liked his game. I thought, again, he could get hot. I thought he played really hard. So curious to see if any of those guys make an impact, but good to them. Kudos to them. Let's get into some of your comments today. Again, we get a quick one today. Because of, it's dead time here in the NBA offseason. And then I saw people in the chat yesterday being like, oh, why are you doing it then? If it's so dead, don't do a video. It's the Celtics Daily, baby. That's the beauty of it. We're coming to you each and every day, whether you like it or not. All right. We got a couple of good comments yesterday that I'm excited to get into. Let's hit them up. Let's get started with our guy, Pierce Kelly, 4583. Says, definitely not on the Ben Simmons train. Thank you, sir. But I can see a world where Nikola Vucevic, who I think we should all call Vucci Main, by the way, he said, where Nikola Vucevic makes an impact for us now and later. I feel like, in general, type of play that fits his style pretty well. I'm not going to be, forgive the analogy, rock hard for the addition of Nikola Vucevic. I don't think he is like this. I don't think he is this borderline all-star, which we saw from him for a couple of seasons when he was in Orlando and his first seasons in Chicago. But I do think, we've already had this conversation around Nick Claxton. It is a massive upgrade with what we're throwing out there already. And it's a good, this year, whatever. I don't even care about this year. I want this to be a gap year. But like when Tatum comes back and it's a healthy squad, if you've got like a legit starting center who doesn't have to be the best player on your team, just like a starting rotation guy, I think it's going to make a pretty big difference. So I am on board with Vooch. I'm not on board with Ben Simmons. I know you guys keep trying to talk me into it in the chat. You can't fool me. I'm not doing it. But Nikola Vucevic. The other comment I thought was a good one too. This is from our guy, AJB03. He said, Brad is a genius for sure. Pause for a second when we were talking about Brad Stevens yesterday and his drafting abilities. That's why this came up. And then you go back to AJB. But isn't Luke Cornett for $10 million a better fit for this roster than Hauser for $10 million? Assuming they didn't try to match the Spurs offer, signing Cornett and trading any combination of Simons, Hauser, and Yang would have kept them under the second apron, right? Also, who are your all-time starting 5 Celtics players? I forgot you put that in there at the end. Hell yeah, I'm excited to talk about that. All right, real quick. So I think the timing of the signings are pretty important. So when Sammy got his extension, he was pretty essential to, not essential, but he was important to what the Celtics were doing. They got him at a very good rate, right? That was like a good deal for Sam Hauser. He was shooting the 3 ball pretty well, an okay defender, like pretty important part of our bench, even though I know it flamed out a little bit in the playoffs after he got hurt. However, that happened a year ago. What you couldn't know heading into this offseason was that Tatum was going to have a catastrophic injury, and because of that, we knew that Porzingis and Drew Holiday were going to go. I think if Tatum was healthy, the Celtics would still be way into the second apron, and I think we would have seen one of Drew Holiday or Kristaps Porzingis leave, not both. And then Al Horford probably stays too. So there was like a big domino effect because Al's 40. He's not in this rebuild situation. He's like, I'll go play another year, but I want to make sure I'm competing for a title. So I think that's why, right? So that is why it's as gruesome as it is, where Luke Cornett all of a sudden now is way more valuable than he was a year ago. Luke Cornett was our third string center. You're not going to pay your third string center that much money. You're not. But then all of a sudden he became like our best center in the playoffs, but we didn't have the cap flexibility that we once had. So that's why. Like you can't go get Luke. And I mean, honestly, Luke's probably a little bit overpaid for what his role is going to be in San Antonio. But shout out to him. I'm glad he got his bag. I love Luke Cornett. But that was a good question. The other part of that too was you were saying like signing Cornette and trading any combination of Simon, Hauser, and Yang would have kept them under the second apron. Yeah, not signing Cornette, I don't think. I think they would have had to do a little bit more because again, they would have had to match the San Antonio offer. So all time 5, huh? All time 5 for the Beantown boys. Listen, this is not to get all sad with it, but I am a 40-year-old man, and the first person in my life that I can recall passing away was Reggie Lewis. Because I forget how old I was. I was probably like 7. I was just like coming into it. And I was right at the height of my fandom. I was a huge Reggie Lewis guy. Obviously D Brown too, but Reggie Lewis was my favorite player. I think he would have gone on to be like an all-time great Celtic. He was already the best player on that team. He was like behind Jordan. He was like the best 2-guard in the league before he passed away. So that was devastating for me. So I'm going to throw Reggie Lewis on my 5. I'm going to throw Larry Bird up there because he was my first love too. This is going to be, and listen, this isn't like all-time greats. This is like my all-time 5. I'm not going to pick guys I didn't watch play. This is going to be leaning more towards my favorites, okay? So let's make that clear before anybody comes at me for leaving off Bill Russell or Kuzi or even McHale and Parrish. So Bird and Reggie Lewis. Also, we're playing this year's rules where there's like no positionless hoops. Reggie, Larry, this is going to shock some people. Rondo. I freaking loved Rondo. Rondo was one of my favorite players. I loved him so much. Honestly, I'm just going to throw Rondo, Pierce, and KG in there. That's going to be it. Oh, no, we can't. Do we do that to Tatum? Do we do that to Tatum and Brown? I don't know. It's weird being my age and then being like, let's get Jason Tatum in there. I think Jason Tatum's going to surpass almost all of those Celtics we listed in their stats. Larry Bird, he'll never catch up to his fandom, but I do think Tatum's going to go down as a better player than Pierce, and he'll probably be like in the KG I mean, the breadth of KG's career is just so insane. I feel like I did a pretty bad job answering that, but what I would love, I think that's a great prompt for everybody else. Shout out our guy AJ. What are your top 5s in the chat? Put them in the chat. That's going to do it for us today. Appreciate everybody hanging out. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the day. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Go Seas, kid.